If you're considering moving to Maryland and you want to know where you should live to be near hiking and mountain biking, kayaking and camping, then this video is for you. I'm going to go over the top 5 places that you can live in Maryland to be near all of these things, or even have it right within your own city. So let's just jump right in. Hey everyone, my name is Eddie Brady and I'm a realtor here in Maryland, and I make videos like this every single week about the best places to live in Maryland, what it's like to live here, and everything you should know about the market. So if this is your first time visiting the channel, thank you for being here. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So in this video, I'm going to go over the top 5 places I think that you should live if you want to be near the hiking, the kayaking, the mountain biking, the camping, all the outdoor activities that you can have in Maryland. And one of the things I will not cover in this video is the beaches and the Chesapeake Bay. That's enough for an entirely separate video, maybe even 2. So we'll leave that for another day. But in this video, we're going to go over the best places to live for everything else that you could do outdoors in Maryland. And everywhere I'm about to mention in this video, I've actually been to myself. This is not a pre-curated list that I pulled offline. I've actually been here. I've mountain biked in these places. I've hiked here. I've kayaked here. So these are places that I have personal experience with, and I really do think are the best spots in Maryland to live for the outdoors person. And coming in at number 5 on the list is the town of Dickerson. Located on the northwest corner of Montgomery County, Maryland, it goes all the way to the Virginia border on the west side, and then all the way to I-270 on the east side. And the reason that this town made the list is the number of outdoor activities and parks within the area. And the most notable park in the Dickerson area is Sugarloaf Mountain. And this is the only park on the list that's privately owned. And it's a massive privately owned park owned by the Stronghold Corporation. And this is a mountain with a ton of hiking trails around it. And it's a pretty small mountain. It's only 1,283 feet tall, but it stands out in the area. No matter where you are in Montgomery or Frederick County, if you have a view, you're probably going to be able to see Sugarloaf Mountain. It's really easy to recognize. And it's just a really popular place for people to visit year-round. And another thing that makes Dickerson such a great place to live for the outdoors person is that it has both the Potomac and the Monocacy River flowing through it. And if you're not familiar with the Potomac River, it is the 4th largest river in Maryland and the 21st largest in the entire country. And it goes all the way from West Virginia down to Washington, D.C. So if you're looking at the Lincoln Memorial or the Jefferson Memorial, that river that you always see behind it, that is the Potomac River. And in the section closest to Dickerson, it's actually the point where the Monocacy River meets the Potomac River. So you can go boating, kayaking, you can go fishing there. A lot of activities right on the water right there. You're not going to have a lot of whitewater activity. That's farther down towards DC where you have Great Falls and Chain Bridge. But up in the section by Dickerson, it's fairly calm. There is a current there, but it's a great place if you want to do a river float or go kayaking or go fishing, like I said. And that's what draws a lot of people to this area. And a really cool thing that's right on the Potomac River is the historic C&O Canal towpath. And this is the path that mules and horses would use to drag barges down the river, down the canal from Cumberland, Maryland, all the way to Washington, D.C. from the early 1800s to the early 1900s. And the cool thing about this path is that if you're into biking and running, it is the perfect place to go. Now, the old canal and the locks and dams, they have some of that still preserved today, but the path itself is completely preserved. It's crush and run looking gravel, and it goes all the way from Cumberland down to Washington, D.C. It's 184.5 miles, and a lot of people will try to go from one end to the other, and it takes about 2 to 3 days. You camp overnight on your way down, and it's a really popular place to go for locals, even for just a day ride or an afternoon ride or an afternoon run. So Dickerson really checks all the boxes for the outdoor activities in the area, which is why it made number 5 on the list. So what's it like to live here? Well, this is the only town on the list that's completely rural, which means it does not have a city set up. It does not have shopping centers everywhere. It is completely rural, out in the country, farmland, wooded areas, big lots. And if you like that, this is the perfect place for you. And this is also a very popular spot, being in Montgomery County, for agricultural reserve programs, which is where they dedicate a huge section of the land surrounding a ton of these properties in the area to the agricultural reserve program, where it cannot be developed on. It's meant to preserve farmland for future generations to come. And if a property goes into that program, it is very difficult to get the development rights back out. So if you're not into development, you want a lot of country, a lot of woods, a lot of trees around you, this is the perfect place for you. And this is also going to be the priciest location to live on the list. And although housing prices here vary from $200,000 up to $2 million, the median price point for houses in Dickerson is $1.022 million. So that is significantly higher than any of the other locations we're about to talk about. But again, you're living with a lot of land around you. There are a lot of perks to living out in the country in this area, so it keeps those price points very high. And the fourth spot on the list is the town of Brunswick. And this is also called the Little City Big Town because it has a legitimate city downtown, and it's really not well known even to Marylanders. Not a lot of people talk about Brunswick, Maryland, but it's a great place to live if you want to be in an adventure hub with a ton of things to do outdoors around you. It's located in the southwest corner of Frederick County, right off of Route 340, and it sits right on the Potomac River, just like Dickerson does. And Route 340 would take you right into Virginia and West Virginia, so it's right at that connection, or right at that intersection of West Virginia, Virginia, and Maryland, and it's really not a very well-known town. So what outdoor activities do you have to do in Brunswick? Well, being on the Potomac River, just like Dickerson, it has all of the same water activities that you can do down there, except this section of the Potomac is much shallower. You can actually wade out across the entire river in Brunswick from one side to the other. It's really cool. It kind of looks a lot like Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. So you'll see a lot of people in spring, summer, and fall just going out, putting out lawn chairs in the middle of the water and just spending the whole day hanging out in the river. And this section of the Potomac River also has that C&O Canal towpath that we talked about, so you can run, walk, bike right on that C&O Canal towpath. It's a really quick trip to go up into Harper's Ferry, grab lunch, and come back, and that's what a lot of people that live here or camp here do. And speaking of camping, this is home to one of the most popular camping spots in Frederick County, which is Brunswick Family Campground. It's a really well-maintained campground. It has access to the Potomac River with a boat ramp, and it also has spots for tent camping as well as campers. And if you're into mountain biking, you actually have a hidden gem of a trail system right on the east side of town. It's called the River's Edge Trail System, and I just recently found out about this within the last year, and I love mountain biking in the area, so it really is a true hidden gem, and it's got to be one of the best tracks in all of Frederick and Montgomery County. And if you live in Brunswick City, you could actually bike from your house to the start of the trails. And one thing that Brunswick has that no other town has is close access to the Appalachian Trail. And it's in a cool section of the Appalachian Trail where there's actually an easy section on a ridgeline where you can hike out to some really cool overlooks, but you could also head south and go onto much more challenging trails on the Appalachian Trail. So having that close access is something that none of these other towns have, and it's a really big perk to living in Brunswick. So what is it like to live in Brunswick? Well, this big town, small city has a lot to offer. There's a lot of local restaurants and shops and plenty of shopping centers on the outskirts of town for everything that you could need. And this town has a lot of cool history as well. It has a lot of history around the train system that ran through it. And there is still a train that goes through it today, the MARC train, that is perfect for commuting. You can go all the way from Brunswick down to Washington, D.C. So this is the ideal location for commuters that want to live on the outskirts of Frederick County, on the outskirts of town, while still being able to travel to DC when they need to. And Brunswick is actually one of the most affordable places to live in Maryland and in Frederick County, with the median price point at the time of making this video at $392,000. And coming in at number 3 on the list is Ellicott City. And I didn't originally think that this would make the list. When I first started coming up with ideas for the best outdoors towns and cities in Maryland, it just didn't cross my mind. But after thinking it over and knowing the places that I've been in Ellicott City, it had to make the list and high up on it. And here's why. Well, first, it's located on the far east side of Howard County, just outside of Baltimore, and it's one of the most desirable places in the entire area for people to live. It's got a really cool historic downtown called Old Ellicott City, which is nationally known. It's just a great place to go and visit, shop, and eat, and it sits right on the Patapsco River, which is a big reason why Ellicott City made the top of this list, and that's because it sits right on the Patapsco Valley State Park. And this park extends 32 miles along the Patapsco River and has 16,000 acres of parkland, 8 developed recreation areas. You can go hiking, fishing, camping, canoeing, kayaking, and horseback riding all in this park. And my personal favorite is it's some of the best mountain biking in the entire state of Maryland. It has over 200 miles of total trails, and 70 of those miles are the well-maintained trails. That is a lot of trails in one area. And the cool thing is, with it being just outside of Baltimore and a ton of things surrounding it, when you're inside the park, it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. And another thing that makes Ellicott City so great for the outdoors is that it's very close to Liberty Reservoir, which is a 9,200 acre park with a massive reservoir that covers 4.73 square miles. You can hike here, you can bike here, you can go fishing, kayaking, and boating here. And if you're gonna go out boating, you can actually have a motor, but it has to be an electric motor because this is the main water source for Baltimore City. And if you're looking to move here, you're going to have a lot of housing options. You have everything near Old Town Ellicott City or Old Ellicott City. You have things out in the more rural areas, and the price points vary significantly, but this is a very desirable place to live. Like I said, it's one of the most desirable in the entire area, and people from all over the country, when they move to Maryland, want to live in Ellicott City. And with all the different housing options, the price point here can vary from $200,000 to well over $2 million, but the median price point at the time of making this video is $675,000. And coming in at number 2 on the list is the town of Sykesville. It's located just to the west of Ellicott City, but it's in Carroll County. And the reason I added this to the list is that if you're looking for the same amenities, the same outdoor activities that you would get in Ellicott City, but you don't want to be near all the busyness of Ellicott City, you could move out to Sykesville and have that small town feel. And Sykesville also has its own historic downtown with a lot of charm. You have restaurants and places to shop just like you would in Old Ellicott City. It's just a little smaller, but still a great place to be. It was actually rated one of America's coolest small towns. I just made a video about it, so if you go to my page after you're done this video, you can learn all about Sykesville, Maryland. And from here, you can still easily get to Patapsco Valley State Park, but you're even closer to Liberty Reservoir, which is in Sykesville itself. But even better than that, you're also now close to Piney Run State Park. And Piney Run is Carroll County's oldest developed park. It has a 300-acre lake and 550 acres of wilderness surrounding it with 5 miles of hiking and biking trails. So it's a really cool place to go, and the lake itself is really popular for fishing. And just like Liberty Reservoir, you can kayak and put a boat in there, and if you put a boat in, it just has to be an electric motor. But just like Liberty, this is a very popular place to go in the spring, summer, and fall. And if you're looking to buy a home in Sykesville, the median price point at the time of making this video is $500,000. And again, I go over that in much more detail in my most recent video on Sykesville, so make sure to check that out after you finish watching. And coming in at number 1 on the best places to live in Maryland for the outdoors is Frederick. And if you're a subscriber to my channel, you've probably seen a ton of my videos on Frederick, and you know that I think it's one of the state's best cities to live in overall. And what makes it number 1 on this list is not only do you have quick access to all the highway systems to get to every single area we just mentioned in a very reasonable amount of time, you also have a ton of activities right in the Frederick area and right around it that make this easily the number 1 spot to be in Maryland for the outdoors person. With the Catoctin mountain chain right nearby, you have one of the coolest parks in Maryland, which is Cunningham Falls State Park. You also have the Frederick Municipal Forest and Gambrel Mountain State Park. And Cunningham Falls State Park is really cool because it has Maryland's largest or tallest cascading waterfall, and it has a ton of really great hiking trails all throughout the park. It's also a really popular camping destination, and it has its own man-made lake on it, so you can actually swim in this lake. You can't do that in Piney Run or Liberty Reservoir that we've already talked about, but you can here while you're camping. And it's one of those places where you actually cannot mountain bike because it's too rocky and too steep. So if you're looking to hike and not have mountain bikers on your trail, this is probably the best place for you to go. And again, it's got the waterfall, it's got a really cool scenic trails all over it, and it has trails from a half mile all the way up to 7.5 miles. So if you're looking to get out and away from the crowds, there's plenty of places for you to go. But if you are looking to mountain bike in the area, you can just go south to Frederick Municipal Forest, which is one of the best mountain biking trail systems in the entire state. I would rank it up there with Patapsco Valley State Park. And if you go just a little farther south towards Frederick, you're going to run into Gambrel State Park, which is its own mountain in itself. It has a lot of great hiking trails, a ton of pavilions that you can run out, and a really great overlook at the top where you can see out for 15 to 20 miles. And Frederick also has the Monocacy River running right through it. And again, it is an easy drive from Frederick to all of the places that I've mentioned on this list. So it is the ideal number 1 location where you can live. And this is also one of the most popular places that people are moving to from all over Maryland. Just like Ellicott City, Frederick has been really blowing up in popularity in recent years. And that's because originally it was cheaper to move out to Frederick, and now those prices really are catching up. But there is so much around Frederick to do, so much to see, and the amenities nearby are second to none. You have everything you could need in the Frederick area. You don't have to go anywhere else for all of your shopping, dining. You can just stay right in the Frederick area and it's all right there. And again, if you haven't watched my other videos on Frederick, I highly recommend going to my channel right after this video and watching the Frederick specific videos. I go over everything you need to know about living here in detail, the best neighborhoods, the new construction, everything you need to know about living here. So if you are an outdoors person and you're looking for the best places to live in Maryland, I hope this video is helpful to you. And again, I have personally been to every single one of these places, whether it's been hiking or mountain biking or kayaking. I've done it all in these places. And not only that, I sell real estate in every single one of these areas as well. So if you are looking to move here or have additional questions or are curious about other surrounding cities around these ones I just mentioned, please reach out to me. I would be happy to help you with your search. And I've made it easier than ever to connect with me in the description or in the comments below. Just click on the link to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, and I'll help you get a plan together to make your move here as smooth as possible. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so that you stay up to date on all of my videos about moving to Maryland.